What I love is the vessel, something that you can hold, something you can look at, something that has an inside and outside. It's always captivated me. And I suppose I've sort of grown up with pots. I was a kid and I persuaded my dad to take me to an evening class when I was 5. And I can remember my first pot, which was a small white dumpy bowl. There were all these multicoloured glazes around, and I insisted on glazing it white, which shows a sort of an early decision, I think. The man I was apprenticed to was very influenced by Japan, and one particular aspect of it, which is the sort of gestural quality of Japanese pottery, where you have the clay and the glaze working together in a sort of symbiotic way, so that you have, a run of glaze coming down over a pot, or you have the colour of the clay coming through the rim of the pot. And that feeling of sort of the naturalness of an object was the main thing that I kind of learned from Japanese pottery. I finally shifted from that kind of dogmatic view about what pots had to be, really because I realised there was a whole raft of things in my life that I cared about, which I couldn't express through mugs. That's when I started using porcelain, because porcelain allowed me to start again. It was a strange material. It's quite difficult to throw with, actually. And I thought I was a great thrower. Sit down and make my 300 tea bowls in a day, and then I used porcelain, and of course it was utterly different. So I was a child again. I started to actually enjoy the process again, and that allowed me to sort of begin again in a funny kind of way. It was a great chance to begin again with a new material. And the things that I started to respond to were 18th century porcelain, modernist ceramics, Bauhaus ceramics, all kinds of other things that had been sort of left out of my life up to then. It was porcelain that was the conversation between beautiful, austere Chinese pots and European culture. Porcelain was in some ways a symbolic material, and that I didn't just have to make simple, austere, plain, whitish pots to do that, but I could actually use that material, use that symbolism in my work. I went back to Japan and spent a wonderful sort of pivotal year in Tokyo, where I did two things. One, I worked completely on porcelain and began to kind of get this idea of the cargo together in my head. And at the same time, simultaneously, I wrote a short critical book on Bernard Leach for the Tate. And these two things kind of unlocked each other. I kind of realised that I didn't have to become, follow Leach. I spent my mornings doing that, and my afternoons were spent in the studio. And these two great things sort of came together, so that when I came back to England, I had a sort of new way forward with my work. Ceramics is a huge expanded field of different kinds of things, and that it's perverse to think that you can't be a serious contemporary artist and make pots. I started to make work which I called cargoes, to actually symbolise that. I called these groups of pots that I made cargoes to actually sort of emphasise the fact that they were groups, they were multiples, not just the single pot, but also that they were in transit in some kind of way between different cultures. I started putting them in a series of very interesting and quite diverse places, trying to work out why groups of vessels, groups of pots, had particular kinds of energy when they were in particular places. It wasn't just about plonking them on tables, it was more about the discovery of them in those places. So I put things in cupboards or on the ground or high up, so you could only just get a sense of them. I was really just trying to kind of experiment with the life of pots. And that's really taken me over. I now feel that is that's my practice. I make things for places.